Oh, and today we're going to be looking at a scenario where civilization starts over. Let's get into it. This is season 2, episode 1 of the series, and let's get into it. So, where is civilization going to start exactly? It's actually going to start down here in Greece. And very quick thing before we start, look, new layer, rivers. That's cool. This little civilization, or really exploration group, is going to be popping up over here in Greece. It's just an exploration group for now, and it's going to start by exploring many regions over here, like these regions, and it's eventually going to go down and explore this area. Eventually, it's going to go up, eventually meeting this coastline, and, well, exploring it. As these guys, or people, are, wanting to explore a lot, trying to see what their world is like. Right now, they're sort of just like a tribal nation thing, but they explore. That's what they do. And eventually, they will be going ahead and going around some of this coastline. Eventually, they will be going ahead and going this direction. And eventually, some group is going to be meeting up with this little river here, which they are going to stop for now. As a very big group decides to settle here and start exploring around this river. They like this group. People are here exploring these areas. The group down here over in Greece is going to stay here for now, and they are going to work on attempting to find more lands like these islands. Since they're tribal for now, they can't really explore these islands just yet. But what they're going to be able to do is another group is going to be going ahead and going up over here into Albania, eventually exploring more of this region. But then the first real civilization is going to pop up down here in Greece. It's like a small tribal thing, but sort of a civilization. It's a pretty small red civilization here. This is the oldest group by far, and it's the only one that really has society. And what this group quickly does is it's going to claim a bunch of areas that it has explored. It can't really claim too much land right now because, well, it's small, and this is tribal times, but they will be able to surround this little thing here. Yeah. Yeah. Going up here, we can see that Greek more people will be continuing to expand, mainly trying to go ahead and go up. As many people, a huge group of people actually, is here looking to go up and is expanding and exploring a lot upwards. This group is going to hurry over in Japan. This group is going to be very successful and continue exploring. As the blue, as this group basically is going to just expand until they get to the edge of this river, where they're going to fully explore around it and start exploring around it. Well, I kind of already spoiled it, but a blue civilization or tribal thing is going to be popping up over here in this area, and they are going to be very quick to expand around the river as they go ahead and claim a lot of areas. Yeah, and this series, this season of Wixo is going to have a lot more detail. Especially with rivers. I'm also going to attempt to incorporate geography. I think there's some mountains here, so people can't really explore there right now. For example, also tribal era, so you can't explore these islands right now, but they will be able to soon. Wait, is this? Let's just say they explore it, and well, we're at the point. It's been a little while, so these civilizations are going to be able to explore these tiny islands around here. And the red one will be going ahead and starting the exploration of this Athens Island thingy here. Oh wait, it's not an island, so they would have already had it, but still. As this group goes ahead and works towards exploring this whole area and attempting to map out as much as they can of this world, the blue group is going to be going ahead and continue to expand around this river, eventually finding where the group itself as they continue to expand. And they figure out how to get across this river, and using some ancient technology, they will be making a small claim here. And it will span something like this. as the group continues to explore. The group will be continuing to expand even more as they reach the Black Sea coastline. This is a pretty big thing, as it's a new body of water, and they've never seen it before. It's ancient times, people are curious. Yeah. And then down over here in the Red Country, we are going to see the first major city be established. This is going to be a major city right here, but it's not quite big enough for a capital yet. Going over here, we can see that the blue area is going to form its own major city. Going back to the group here, this group has been exploring a lot and just moving themselves upwards, claiming a lot of territories, until some of them decide, you know what? Why don't we claim some of this area here? And basically, they like how this sort of area, how it's kind of like a sort of like, if I can get a color, there, like Three Ways coastline, so like that, have some islands to explore, and they just really like this area. So this group is going to form like a new nation or a new tribe. This yellow tribe is where this group decides to eventually, go. And this group settles here and is going to continue to explore, specifically over in these eastern areas towards the coast. They are a coastal nation. Yeah. As they continue to explore into these flatlands and eventually discover this river. And they are pretty quick to go ahead and explore on both sides of the river, attempting to maybe reach the end. It's a pretty long river, so it might be hard. Yeah. But eventually over time, they're going to be able to move and continue their journey. Going back down over here, we can see that the blue group is going to be exploring this area. And they will be able to, go here and eventually, expand even more, eventually reaching the Anatolian area. But then, this group gets lost. This group gets, as I just said, lost, and they don't really know what to do. So what they are going to do is they are going to just go along the coastline. But funny thing is, two groups want to do things. One group wants to go this direction, one group wants to go this direction. So, both these groups will decide to split their own ways, and we are going to mainly be focusing on this one for now. As well, this group is going to be quickly able to go ahead and go up the coastline, go exploring these, only the coastal regions, as they can't really explore the mountainous areas in Anatolia right now. As they go ahead and continue to expand, or just explore, all the way through here, eventually finding this area. Eventually, they will continue to explore along the coast until they find this river. They are curious about this river, so they are going to go here and, settle it. Yeah. And this group is going to be able to go ahead and attempt to, colonize and make a country in this river, and they continue to, just go ahead and go and explore these areas. Then let's focus on this group. As this group here is going to be going ahead and expanding their direction. As they want to go this way, and they explore this island. And this group will be continuing to go down, specifically on the coastal regions, eventually reaching its way all the way down here. As they go around through the coast, some of them are getting tired. And some countries here don't really like that they're getting tired, so when they get to about this point, they're going to decide to stop and settle here. As they will be exploring this region. But who knows if this was a very good idea? There's no rivers nearby. Are you sure that's a very good idea? Yeah. Going back to the Red Country, the Red Country is going to be expanding, eventually discovering this whole area, and is going to make an expedition in order to sort of explore. And then they go on their colonist conquest as they claim this part here of this area and claim this little part of Athens. Yeah. The Greek thing will then eventually decide to go ahead and claim more areas, eventually wanting to form a sort of thing. There hasn't actually been a war in this episode yet, but who knows if that'll come soon. But the Greeks, let's add a new thing that I can actually be able to add. Ideologies. There. A new ideology. The Greek nation is a dictatorship. And, let's actually make ideologies for, all of these nations. And these are the ideologies of the world. This gray one here means authoritarian / dictatorship, and which is the ideology of the red one and the yellow one. And this one here, this blue one, is like a lighter gray color. It sort of means authoritarian, but it has some democratic values, but not very many. But this red country has a very expansionist leader, and his goals are to claim as much territory as possible, as he claims all these areas, and is going to continue to expand down south. Yeah. As he continues to expand north even more, the blue nation hears about him, and he wants to, expand more. As the blue nation is going to continue their expansions across the river, as well, they want to claim this, and they claim this Istanbul area. But they aren't going to claim this area yet, or really, they'll claim the rest there first. But the blue area is going to continue to go, north, and will continue to expand, as they will be, expanding a lot, specifically around this river in this Bulgarian region. Yeah. Going back to the yellow group, the yellow group is going to be expanding even more, or exploring, around the Italian peninsula, as they will be going ahead and eventually figuring out that this river exists. Who knows if it's connected? They don't know that, but still. And they will be continuing to explore, feeling like there's a lot of rivers here. And then the yellow country will decide to do something interesting once they figure this out. They will claim this area here, as they feel like it's pretty valuable, knowing that there's a lot of rivers here. Yeah. They will also be exploring some of the areas around. This is a pretty interesting thing to do, as well. It's not connected. But the yellow group, with this authoritarian leader, is going to be expanding even more, as they eventually go ahead and continue to attempt to expand north in order to reach this river. They eventually make some areas and connect their country, and they are worthy to get a major city now. The major city is going to be right here, which is pretty good, but they are going to be working on expanding one, making one here. But they are just going to make one. Wait, what? This the right layer? Oh yeah, rivers. I think I should put major. Where should I put these layers? Let me just put this here for now. Yeah. Going back over here to the main map, we can see that the red country is going to be continuing their expansionist conquest, as they go ahead and expand more into these Albanian areas and start to explore some of these more mountainous regions, which many of the populace doesn't really like. Makes sense. Should I alternate the color of this? Let me see. Seeing color options Microsoft Paint has, I don't really think I should. Yeah, never mind about that. But the Blue Nation will be continuing to expand around and has more democratic values installed into its nation, as they go ahead and expand more. Let's check back on these two groups here. As this group will be forming its own independent nation here, this is going to be the Green Nation, and this nation is going to be it doesn't quite have an ideology or a leader yet, but it's working on it. But this nation has expansionist values, just like every other nation in the world, and will be working to explore this river area. As they go down the river, they will be claiming more lands, eventually claiming them around, the river. Going down here, we can see another nation forming, as this group has finally decided to form an independent nation, which is a pretty cool thing, especially in this world. Well, civilization is starting over, so it's pretty cool. But this orange nation is very expansionist, even more expansionist than any other nation. Or really explorationist. Yeah. But they do have some democratic values, kind of like the blue team. Wait, should I move the ideology? Maybe I can turn this ideologies layer off for now. Is this the right layer? Yeah. At this point, we can see that the Red Nation has been around for a little while, and they are worthy of getting a capital city. And so is the blue team. The yellow team isn't quite there yet, but they're close. Yeah. The red team is going to be continuing to expand as they expand in this Athens area. The red team is going to be going ahead and expanding even more. Eventually, they're going to meet up with the blue team, the first border in this world's history. But then, over down here in Athens, a rebellion starts. As down here in Athens, a rebellion starts against this red team government. They don't really like that the red team is an authoritarian regime. And well, they want to rebel against it. This is a... Wait, what kind of rebellion should this be? This rebellion is mainly suited on peace. So they have... Wait, what kind of ideology is this? This rebellion, let's just say it's, starting democracy. Yeah, new ideology. And this rebellion is successful, as the red team won't be able to defend against it, and they will be forced to give it independence. Yeah, that's a pretty big loss. But they immediately ensue their new ideology, which I call it a developing democracy. Yeah, eventually there's going to probably be flawed in other types of democracies, but for now, the Athens nation is a pretty powerful nation. Wait, do I have the white layers? Wait, where's the capital layer here? Why is it here? What layer is this? Huh? As Athens will be developing its own major city down here. And the red team will also be developing 2 more major cities here and here. And the blue team will develop another one here. And well, the yellow team has gotten enough autonomy that it is able to form a new nation. The yellow team gets a capital. That's pretty big, as a new nation is officially a nation, as it has a capital. And the yellow team, after this, has a centralized sort of government, and is sort of expanding a lot. Like that. As they go ahead and mainly focus on these European rivers. As they go ahead and explore many of these areas here. But they don't really dare to go too far out, as they don't want to go too far away from the mainland, just in case something happens. But the yellow team will be expanding even more, mainly across these northern rivers, as this is where a majority of their forces and exploration things are, as the yellow team will be even expanding down to where they originally came from down south. The yellow team will also be expanding down here throughout the Italian peninsula, eventually discovering this river. This group goes down the river and will be going to decide to tell the yellow team. But some part of the group isn't really fond of this. So they don't really want this happening. So this is basically like a sort of like skirmish like here. And basically a new group forms. The military rebellion of the yellow Italian country. This group, nobody knows about it except some of the people that are currently going up to tell the yellow team about it. Yeah. Going over to the orange team, we can see the orange team continue to explore even more throughout these areas, as they quickly explore and eventually claim a bunch of territories, like this. They claim all these territories. As the orange team continues to expand, specifically more like eastern, as a pretty large group goes ahead and is actually loyal to the orange team. Yeah. The yellow team's group over here wasn't very loyal, because of the yellow team's expansionist ideology. The orange country doesn't really have an ideology yet. The green country over here will be able to expand even more, or explore. Why did I get those words confused? I don't know. But they will be going down here, eventually deciding to, fully go and explore this river, as they go ahead and fully explore the entire thing. They reach the end of this river, and will decide, you know what? We want power. So we are going to go ahead and explore all this, or claim it. So this nation is going to be able to go ahead and claim all this territory for themselves, as they quickly go ahead and attempt to connect, as they discover all this is here. As they go ahead and eventually will be able to fully explore all this territory. And the green team goes, as they go up. The green team will be working in order to make more, as they connect their 2 parts, and will be able to go here. I think it's about time for the orange team and the green team to get major cities. Yeah. The orange team, this is going to be their major city, and the green team's, this is their major city, and they establish another one here. More major cities are established, like another yellow team major city over here. And a new Greek, or this nation is going to have a major city. Yeah. And also that basically means some nations get capitals. Like this green team has their capital here, and this orange team has their capital here. We have a few new layers. One of these is power rankings. It's a pretty large one. Greece, which is the red country, the first country, this one, is the strongest. Second is Bulgaria, the blue one. Third strongest is Slovenia, which is the yellow one. Fourth strongest is Athens, which is the dark red one. And the fifth strongest is the green country, North Anatolia. Yeah. Updated ideologies, and also some more layers. Provinces. I'll be updating these every episode. And also every other one of these new layers. And especially these layers. Technology map. How does this one work to be exact? So basically the darker blue this technology map is, or just the darker blue this color is, the more technologically advanced that country is. Like the red country is the most technologically advanced, and this country here is the least technologically advanced. So they have dark blue and light blue. And everything in between. These two have this pretty similar technologies. The yellow one is a bit stronger than less than these two. These two have pretty similar to, but blue or less than, well, yeah. Other layer, stability. So in this, the more red the country is, the more unstable it is. Like the Greek country is the most unstable country in the world. While the most stable countries are this Italian country and the green country. Some of the medium stability countries are like this country and the yellow country. And these two are also pretty similar in stability. Yeah. Let's get back on the regular map and start with the actual episode now. We're going to be starting today with the Italian country as they go ahead and continue to explore more and more around these areas. Eventually going ahead and fully attempting to go on the coastlines. As they go very far north and are going to be fully exploring many of these areas. As well, this is what they explore. They will also be claiming some of this land, obviously. They don't want to just take a bunch of land, explore a bunch of land and not take it. So they're going to take every part of this whole river and are going to actually claim a pretty large amount of territory. As they also go more down south and will be claiming many areas over here. Wait, do I have capitals later on? Yeah, I do. And, well, this country has become strong enough that it is able to get its own capital. And this capital is going to be in its only major city right here. Makes sense. The yellow country is going to be continuing to explore a lot more as they continue to explore mainly down these two rivers. They eventually meet this sort of delta here and agree to split up. And as these rivers will be continuing to be explored, and they eventually reach this three-way point and fully explore many areas over here as they're exploring a lot. They did fully explore these rivers, but they do explore a bit more around them to see if there's anything else, which they don't find anything else. Except these two areas here, and the yellow team will also be starting to explore more down into the Italian peninsula. They still haven't discovered the yellow team though, or the gold team. As the yellow team will continue their expansions across these rivers by sending a group up here, and another group up here, and another group in this direction. There'll be multiple groups, but they're going to send one down here. Until, well, they eventually reach the end and decide to go back. Yeah. Eventually, well, they're going to go back. With this group, they're going to continue moving across the rivers until they just continue. Yeah. Well, these guys are going to be continuing to explore and will explore and eventually find this river after a bit. And well, they will just be exploring a lot, as the yellow team is exploring a pretty large chunk of Europe, and it's becoming one of the more powerful nations in the continent. Well, Europe is the only continent, the main continent at least. Well, yeah. But these guys will also be going up here, as they will be just exploring. Yeah. These two areas do connect, and eventually all this area is explored. And now the yellow team is going to expand more. Before exploring a little bit more, before exploring a bit more. And then now they're going to start claiming more land, as the yellow team starts to go ahead and claim much of this land around these rivers. As they will fully claim all the regions around these two rivers, and even start to explore out a slight bit more, as they are becoming one of the most explorationist countries in the world. The yellow team is becoming a pretty big power over here, as many people are immigrating over into their nation in order to, do this. And, going over here, we can see that they will continue to explore down the Italian peninsula, and will be moving up here. Yeah. Going over here, we can see that the yellow team is going to be going down the Italian peninsula as well, as they also go ahead and expand into many of these areas across the rivers. And cool thing, I can update these maps. Wait, which one should I update? Stability. No, technology. Technology has changed, and the green country has become more technologically advanced, but the yellow country has become even more technologically advanced. That's pretty cool. And also with the stability map, we have to have the map. The yellow team has become even more stable than they already were. Yeah. Going down over here to Greece, we can see the Greeks do something, as the Greeks will be going up, which still makes more of the population mad, as they don't really like to explore. Yeah. The populace doesn't, but the government does, so they're forced to. And well, the Red Greeks will be able to go ahead and eventually explore into these mountainous regions until they discover some yellow team land. And they make contact with the yellow team, and the red team finally realizes, hey, there's another power up here just sort of broke away from us. And the red team, when they hear this information about the yellow team existence, they are mad, understandably, as they would be going ahead and mass expanding into many of these mountainous regions, at least I think they're mountainous, as they go ahead and claim parts of this river and start to move up. The red team is going to then spend most of their explorationist force over into this region in order to claim as much of it as possible. So the yellow team can't get it, because they don't like the yellow team at all, and the relations between the yellow and red teams are already hostile. Yeah, but the red team, all they know about is the yellow team now, the blue team, and Athens. That's all. In going over to the blue team, after the red team claims more land, the blue team is going to also be exploring along to Europe, or the Balkans, as they specifically go along these coastlines and will be eventually finding this river. Eventually, they will be going up these coastlines and finding this pretty large river delta, as they, just like the yellow team, are going to work to explore many of these areas. A group is sent up here before they decide, hey, that's a little bit far. But the yellow team, they don't care how far they go, and this group is going to continue, as they do end when they get to the end of the rivers. So this group is going to continue. So is this blue team group. As the yellow and the blue teams meet up, and now all these nations here know about each other. The yellow and, red and blue teams all know about each other. Yeah. And the blue team will be continuing to mass explore into many of these areas. Eventually, all this area will be discovered, and the blue team is going to start claiming some land for themselves. The blue team is going to be claiming even more lands, specifically along the coastlines, hoping to reach this river. And the blue team is then just going to make a sort of colony over in this river area, as this blue team sort of colony-ish thing is sort of like, well, here, yeah. The blue team will also be continuing to explore even more across this river with the Navarin colony. They go across here and eventually discover another river as they start to explore both. Yeah. And blue team works to connect both of these colonies together. And also, they have an official, like, sort of thing in their government to, like, explore and expand a lot more. And this operation, to sort of claim a bunch of Europe that they've made, is sort of successful as they sort of get close to this river and even claim parts of it, as they claim more areas around it. And eventually will be claiming the entirety of the river, or at least this whole southern half. And the yellow team is mad about this because this, in their opinion, is their river, and they don't really want the blue team here. Going over to Anatolia, there's a lot to cover over here, as the blue team will be exploring more and more areas over here, hoping to see, hey, where's our exploration group? As they realize, finally, that the exploration groups to explore down here are gone. And they don't really know what to do. Well, all the blue team knows about exactly, as of now, is all of this territory, is what they know about. So, well, they don't know about this up here. I guess they kind of do, but they don't know the exact borders. But what I'm saying is the blue team doesn't know about the orange team stuff or the green team stuff. So these blue team explorers will be continuing to explore until they eventually discover the green team. And they very much dislike the green team, so they're going to be going over here, eventually reaching these areas. And the green team realizes, hey, our old nation that ruled us, which we very much dislike, especially now, has decided to come over here. So the green team is going to work to explore a bit more and claim a lot more lands. Well, the green team is the 5th strongest country in the world, so they are able to claim lands. But the green team is going to be deciding to go ahead and claim this entire river for themselves, as eventually they go ahead and claim this whole area as a whole. Yeah. And they will be continuing to explore, mainly across these Anatolian regions. Oh wait, that's where they are, so they can't really explore anywhere else, but will expand. Yeah. But the green team will also be claiming many areas over here, like this. Like that. But the green team will also be going ahead and exploring or expanding even more, and will eventually be claiming all of these lands, as the blue team will also be going ahead and claiming more lands, eventually meeting up with the green team. The blue team doesn't like this, but what can they really do? But the blue team is going to be exploring more over here, or expanding. And the red team is finally going to discover more of these islands and start to claim them. Yeah. This island is discovered, and many of these other Greek islands are discovered, as, well, they just kind of look a bit ugly on the map. But the orange team does discover and claim this island, and the red Greeks is claiming this one. Yeah. These two are, in fact, discovered and even claimed by these respective nations here. Yeah. The Greeks have really made sort of like navy in order to like defend against, well, wait, what do they defend against? Athens? Yeah, maybe. The orange team is going to continue to mass explore many of these lands here until they eventually make contact with the blue team. And just like the blue team's relations with the green team, they don't like them. So the Anatolians, or the orange team, is going to be going ahead and claiming a whole bunch of this land in order to try and stop the blue team's expansion. They don't really like what's going on. Yeah. And while this is a pretty big expand for one episode, but the orange team will eventually be continuing to explore over here. Eventually, all these groups are going to be able to explore the whole main Anatolian region, as all this area over here is explored. And the orange team will be working hard at claiming more and more of these territories, so that, well, the blue team can't, because they don't like the blue team. And what they're going to do is claim this huge chunk of Anatolia. But the blue team is going to be claiming it more, as they are going to be eventually agreeing on a border with the orange team and the green team, and basically they just meet up with the lines. This is where borders meet in Anatolia, and this island is going to be claimed by the blue team. And I think it's now about time to make more major cities on this map. More major cities will be established by other nations, like a few dotted around over here in Anatolia. As well, Anatolia is becoming a pretty large region, and also huge major cities established over here in these river deltas. Yeah. Going back to Italy, we can see that the Golden Italians are going to be claiming or exploring more and more territory, as they mainly go down south, exploring all of this. Eventually, the Golden Italians will be going more north and deciding, well, we should probably expand more and maybe try to defend against the yellow team. They know about the yellow team, but they don't know how powerful they are, so they are going to claim as much territory as they humanly can in order to just defend against what they believe is a strong yellow team. Yeah. And they would be quickly able to go ahead and claim many areas of southern Italy, as they eventually go down and explore all the way down to this part of the Italian peninsula. And well, this is pretty cool. They've explored all this, but the yellow team has just discovered this nation. That's bad. But what'll be happening is, well, all this will be happening. The yellow team, knowing that the gold team exists now, is outraged, and they are going to be making surprisingly a lot larger of a military. And nobody really knows why, but maybe for some reasons that maybe they don't like the gold team. Makes sense. But all these groups will eventually be able to explore all of this area in Central Europe. Yeah. And the yellow team will be claiming a lot more territory, as they go crazy at claiming a bunch of European territories, going ahead and claiming many of these Balkan regions. Eventually, the borders will look something like this. And the world map in Europe has gotten a lot bigger. Yeah. But going over to Mesopotamia, something big happens. A new group pops up. This group is going to expand or explore mainly around these river delta areas. And they are going to be very quickly exploring more and more until they eventually decide to form a nation. Mesopotamia is now independent. Civilization is in Mesopotamia, as this Mesopotamian civilization is going to be exploring many areas around the Euphrates River and I forgot the name of this other river, but yeah. They will be going ahead and exploring many of these areas all the way down this river and eventually going ahead and meeting up with the Persian Gulf coastline. And Mesopotamia will be continuing to expand even more as, well, this has been happening throughout, well, all of this happening. But they are also able to establish their own major city. Their major city is going to be right here. And the capital is also going to be in the exact same location. That makes sense. And now the world has just gotten a whole new area. But these Mesopotamian peoples will be continuing to explore up these rivers as they go ahead and eventually will be just going crazy. They don't really have any issues. This is very fertile farmland over here in Mesopotamia. In Europe, the Europeans don't know about this. And these groups are eventually going to go ahead and get close to meeting up, as the orange team will be continuing to explore, and eventually the green team explores and finds this river and explores this whole part of it. As the green team will also be going up and claiming or exploring all these areas, and then eventually claiming them. Like this. The green team claims all these areas and these parts of the river, as they want to become more powerful. Makes sense. This is ancient times. You need to be powerful to survive. Yeah. But, well, eventually, these two groups explore the river, and the Mesopotamians and, well, the green team meet up. And the orange team continues, and, well, all these areas will be meeting up and clashing together, and, well, the hostile relations are already here, and a new nation forms. This is going to be the dark blue nation over here. This nation is sort of a mix between Green Team and Mesopotamian peoples. This group believes in uniting the world under all these ethnicities. And they basically break away because of all the clashing that's been happening. And this group is large, and it will be expanding a lot and claiming many of these areas. But then, going over to here to France, something else happens. People also pop up here in France. These people are going to, just like Mesopotamia, explore these rivers and eventually will be forming their own civilization and eventually, make sure it's the right layer, will be making their own major city, which is going to be right here, and the capital is right here, as this nation is also going to be exploring greatly around these French areas. But they have a little bit more issues than Mesopotamia, as Mesopotamia has a lot of fertile farmland. But this nation is not going to stop growing as it continues to explore around these rivers and eventually becomes a pretty decent sized nation. But to end off the video, we can see the yellow team continue to explore across these rivers and claim a bit more land over north. They claim parts of this river and, well, yeah. They eventually will be claiming all these parts of the river and, well, yeah. That's the Gold Italians being on the power rankings. I think I can get, yeah. Power rankings. Now we're going to go ahead and explore a bunch of southern Italy, and they are going to claim a bunch of this territory here, claiming basically the entirety of the southern Italian peninsula. The Gold Italians will also be starting to explore more up north as they work to maybe find more lands. They don't know if there's any other civilizations. They do know about Mesopotamia, that's a pretty big thing. But they do go over here, but they will be stopped by the Alpine mountain range, or the Alps, which is the technical correct name. Yeah. But the Gold Italians, being the powerhouse they are in the Italian peninsula, will be going ahead and, well, expanding into a lot of these territories, claiming a lot of modern Italian coastlines, but they won't be claiming all of it. Yeah. The Gold Italians will also be going ahead and claiming much of this land here, which kind of annoys the yellow team. Yeah, their dictator doesn't really like it, but what can they do about it? They're all a pretty strong country, and dictators, well, they are popular, but the people don't really like them, so if they go to war, who knows what could happen. But the yellow team, being the expansionist, is going to be going ahead and exploring greatly down into these river areas here, eventually reaching the end of this river and establishing more areas of claiming. They claim more lands, as they claim many of the areas along this river over here. Yeah. They will also be going ahead and exploring many of these other areas around the river in order to justify more claims. Yeah. What they do is they fully claim this part of this river here, and will be claiming this part of this river, and eventually going ahead and attempting to claim the rest of the river. And the yellow team is an expansionist nation, so they will be going ahead and exploring even more in order to claim more territory. What they will be doing is with their major cities, they are going to be claiming many territories over here. Yeah. Going over here, we can see that they continue to explore more and more around these areas, especially around these rivers that they've already claimed or explored, and eventually will be claiming all of this territory. And the yellow team has actually become a pretty large nation. Who knows how good that could be, but let's go over here for now. As Mesopotamia will be continuing to explore many areas as they have discovered agriculture. And nobody else knows about agriculture, so that's pretty cool. Mesopotamia, because of this, is going to be rapidly expanding into these rivers in order to claim as much territory so they can do a bunch of agriculture stuff. Yeah. What they do is they go all the way down here, claim this entire river, and send out a sort of exploration group in order to explore more areas. Mesopotamia currently is the least technologically advanced country in the world, including France, but what they are is one of the most stable. So they don't really have any issue doing this because the populace supports it. And, well, basically, all the populace believes that, hey, this is a good thing, which kind of is. They are gaining more territory, but who knows? Like, what's going to be happening is this country, which is also an oligarchy, is going to be going ahead and claiming more and more territories around here. They still do have relations with Mesopotamia, despite sort of like breaking away. And they will be going down here and making a border with Mesopotamia. And that border will look something like this. Yeah. And get with the map, we can see it more thoroughly. And also including this pixel. Yeah. And that's basically what happens in Mesopotamia for now. Going back over to these Anatolian regions, we are going to be seeing the Orange team continue to claim more and more of them. They actually claim all the way down to here. The Orange team will also be going ahead and claiming many of these other, or just, why do I keep getting claiming exploring confused? I don't know, but a pretty large group is going to be set to go down south and explore more and more of the Mesopotamian region. As now Mesopotamia has become a pretty large trade partner with countries around the world, but still no alliances. And Mesopotamia is looking to form a trade alliance with this nation here. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And another thing will be happening. Mesopotamia will officially start a memo to sort of make trade routes all around the world. And basically Mesopotamia forms the first trade route, partnering up with this nation, and they will start by making trade routes across these rivers. I think I could make this look a bit better. Yeah. If they start making the trade route, they basically want to make this so, well, trade is easier. And also, if they have a trade route, this will make it just easier to do a bunch of stuff and, well, trade. And the green team is going to get this, and they are going to help with forming trade routes, allowing these other countries here. But this is where the progress of these trade routes is for now, as we can turn this light off. Going back down to the orange team, we can see that they've discovered this river and will be fully exploring it. And, well, basically they will be doing a lot over here. And they are going to be mass exploring over into many of these areas over here. And, well, they discover a huge chunk of Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is almost fully discovered at this point. Fully discovered, except some of these areas over here. Where the rest of these, the pink team and the other country here, will be exploring and respectfully claiming some lands. The orange team, however, is going to have sort of disputes with the green team, hoping to get as much land as possible. The green team is going to take that, and the orange team is going to block the green team from expanding down south into Mesopotamia. That doesn't really sit well with the green team. And the green team doesn't really like this, so their relations are hostile. Look what's going to be going on is the orange team will be continuing to explore down south. Going over to the red country, we are going to be seeing them expanding greatly throughout this river bank and will be claiming all of this area. But, well, this doesn't make the populace too happy, so this is going to make them very unstable. And the blue countries also become unstable because of this. And basically the two oldest countries in the world are becoming very unstable. Yeah, the rest of the world's still unstable though. But the yellow team is actually getting more unstable. That's pretty bad for the yellow team, but let's get back here. Let's actually go over to France, as the French country is going to be continuing their explorations over in the French region, as they mainly focus on the rivers, just like every society. They reach the end of this one, and eventually we'll be figuring out that, hey, this is not just an endless world with a bunch of water. There's actually, like, other waters. At least that's what they think, which that is true, seeing that there's a giant ocean here, but they don't know that's an ocean. They might think it's a lake or a river. They don't really know though, but they will be eventually going ahead and discovering this other area here. And they might are going to continue to explore over here, and they're starting to sort of, quote unquote, connect the dots. As they eventually discover all of this, and because of that, will be claiming a lot more lands for their nation. As they claim more and more areas, and even claim parts of these coastlines, which is sort of hard-ish to do, but they just explored it, but they can claim it, so they will claim it. And it's going very well for France over here, as the French country has become one of the most prosperous countries over here. Oh wait, this is the only country over here, so obviously the most prosperous country over here. But especially the capital. The capital of France is becoming very populated, and people are also moving out of the capital to go work. So basically, everybody else is just, this is basically at a huge population boom in France, which is pretty good, but nobody knows about them over here yet, at least. Yeah. The gold Italians will be actually discovering Sicily, and will also be claiming this final part of the Italian peninsula. But the gold team is still going to have their explorationist conquests at a halt because of the giant Alps region thingy here. Yeah, I think it spans like something like this, I think. So yeah, that border is just impossible to go through. But the yellow team can do that, but they can go around it. And that's what they're going to try to do as they do discover this river and start getting close to discovering France, which is pretty cool, I would say for myself. The blue team is going to continue to explore a lot across these rivers and will be continuing to eventually discover yellow team claimed areas. And the yellow and blue teams will make like a sort of agreement. Hey, I think we should sort of like explore this. So that's what they do. They explore all of Romanian areas and eventually fully explore this river. And their river's expansion has sort of come to a halt, as all the rivers they know about have been fully explored. Yeah, except the yellow team systems over here, but who knows how long that will last. But the yellow team, being the yellow team, is going to go ahead and expand a lot more, especially over in these rivers, as they claim many of these Romanian areas for themselves. And the blue team is like, hey, we need some of this too. This is our territory. So basically the blue, red, and the other countries are going to be able to just going out of the dispute, getting ready to claim as much of this area as possible. And that's what these countries attempt to do, as they go ahead and claim a lot of these territories here. The yellow team will be stopping the blue team from expanding more across these rivers until the blue team goes around the yellow team and starts to claim even more. And they don't really like this, so, well, the blue team is then just going to abandon this area, as they have something internal going down in their nation. As the stability is finally caught up to them, and the Anatolian regions controlled by the blue team are breaking away from the blue team. So what they're going to do is this area is going to be invading and hoping to maybe take out the blue team, which they don't really like. And they are going to make a stable front line on this river, and this is the first major rebellion in human history. But the blue team is the second strongest nation in the world, so they don't just fall super easily, which is not very good for other countries, but they do make their journeys here. Yeah. But then another thing will be happening, and eventually, one thing after another, the yellow team will be declaring on the blue team with their military. And while the first developing, or the only really partial dictatorship, is falling apart, as the yellow team is fully claiming these areas and is close to claiming this major city, until they eventually do claim it. And well, they're just going crazy at exploring these areas as they capture the major cities left and right. Eventually, the red team is going to get involved in this war, and they will be joining the war on the side of not the blue team. And the blue team has come to a collapse as the blue team is going to be forced into surrender, and we can look at the peace treaty of this war. These are the areas claimed by other nations. As this independent nation will be gaining its independence, and its capital will be here, and it will claim this territory of Thrice. The red team is going to claim these few provinces here, including annexing this major city. And the yellow team will be annexing all of this land here, making them a giant powerhouse in the Balkans. Which is pretty bad for the blue team as they've become small. And time to update this ideology layer. More countries will start to become, well, more like developing democracies, is what they call it. Yeah, or partial dictatorships, as the green team is becoming one of those, and the yellow team is, well, giant. Let's just say that. Wait, what's the stability of the red country again? Yep, they're still very unstable. Going to update that later, but the yellow team will be continuing to expand greatly as they continue to explore across these rivers and will be going crazy as they eventually discover this entire river and will just, no, it's already discovered, but they would just be claiming the river and even exploring a bunch of areas, or just maybe little areas, but some areas around the river. As the yellow country continues to claim a lot more land, and eventually the yellow team will be fully claiming this huge area here. If I can get it on the map correctly. There. The yellow team has become giant, and who knows what could happen. But a group does decide, you know what? We're done with the yellow team. And this group here is going to go ahead and start exploring or just breaking away from the yellow team basically. Just like, well, the gold team did. And what this group is going to do is they will be continuing to explore or just expand as they eventually will be going ahead and discovering the Crimean coastline or just the whole Crimea. They will not stop and will continue as they eventually go ahead and explore all of these areas over here. As eventually they decide, we don't want to be too far. We want to know about what's happening in the world. But who knows, they are kind of far already. But when they get here, they discover this little nice area here. This little nice sort of area, and eventually find that Crimea is right there. So then, a new nation is established. And the purple team is established. This is a pretty small nation for now, but it will get bigger. When they settle here, they quickly go ahead and explore along this whole river and eventually explore all this area. As now we're getting to sort of the point where they can sort of explore a lot easier. But the purple team will be continuing to expand mainly across the river and the coastlines, as the coastline is very important in many, many ways. Yeah, every way possible. Yeah. And what they will be doing is they will be going ahead and exploring many of these, or expanding into many of these areas over here. And well, if I can get the layers, wait, is this the right layer? No, wrong layer. There's the major city layer. As now they are able to establish their own major city right here, which will become their first capital city. I don't know about that yet. I'm not sure if this will be their capital forever, but I have no clue it's coming. Yeah. Going over to Mesopotamia, we can see the Mesopotamians continue to explore a lot more. As the Mesopotamians will be expanding a lot more and eventually will be expanding into a bunch of these other areas. And they could claim some more major cities, but I can do that myself later. Yeah. After the episode. But what will be happening is the Mesopotamians will be going ahead and exploring a lot. And eventually the orange team is also going to go down here, ready to explore greatly. As they go ahead and, well, sort of expand. And well, they don't discover the river, but they claim it, which is pretty good for them. Yeah. And they even discover Cyprus, the largest island they've ever discovered, and the orange team, and well, basically all this is claimed. Oh wait, this has already been claimed? for a while, just haven't shown it on the map. And this is what the current world is looking like. Going over to France, we can see that the French also discover this little river here, and will be continuing to explore. But are stopped by the Alps, which is all they really need to discover these two groups to discover each other. And well, they basically just can't really explore anymore, as they eventually go ahead and get pretty close to discovering the yellow team. But they will be going down and discovering more and more areas over here, eventually claiming this river and going all the way down and just claiming everything they can. As well, that's what country's doing this time, as they claim all this area, and this is what the French country is looking like. But going over to the gold team. The gold team has had enough, and many countries have had enough with the yellow team in the expansion. So what's going to happen? The yellow team and the red team will be forming the Square Alliance, the first alliance in human history, or really a coalition against the yellow team. And right after that, the gold team is going to enter their forces over into yellow team territory, officially starting the Italian-Slovenian Wars. The gold team is going to immediately start by entering many of their forces over into the yellow Slovenian country, attempting to get them out of the war as quickly as possible. But they are the strongest country in the world, so they will put up a fight against them, as they go back down here and reclaim this major city and kick gold Italian forces out of this area. Yeah, like this. The red team is going to be very successful at first, taking out this major city and working along the coastline in order to get a lot of war score in order to annex as much area as possible. What's going to happen is the red team is going to be able to take all these areas of these rivers, but the yellow team is going to be able to push back over in these areas, which is not good for them, as these areas that they're annexing or capturing don't have any major cities. Except down here, where they will be capturing this major city here, and work around to attempt to surround the red team by river. Yeah. Going over here, we can see that the yellow team continues to push back, as the yellow team is still very strong, as they go ahead and, reach this river and start slithering their way down. But they aren't able to capture this major city yet. Yeah. But also other events happen in the world, so we've got to mention those. Like Purple Team. As the Purple Team is going to continue exploring across these rivers here, and they do very well and start to explore even more around the Ukrainian areas. As they continue to go ahead and explore this river, and eventually this is what they have explored. What they're going to do after that is claim a bunch of the areas along this area, as they attempt to go ahead and claim as much territory as possible, and claim some areas in Crimea, and are working to surrounding, their whole nation. Yeah, or just this whole, little lake thing here that they fully know about. Yeah. Going down here to Mesopotamia, we can see that the Mesopotamian nation continues to expand a lot more, as they discover this river for themselves, and will be claiming a bunch of area. Which doesn't really sit for the orange team, but, they can't really do much. Or can they? Because going to the power rankings, we can see, wrong layer, we can see that the North and South Anatolians are stronger than Mesopotamia. So they can do something, but Mesopotamia is more advanced than them technology, and more stable. But the orange team has more might. Yeah. Going over here, we can see Mesopotamia continues to explore downwards, as they go ahead and explore much of this coastline, at least for them, and go ahead and claim a pretty large or small-ish chunk of the area, claiming all this coastline. Another group of Mesopotamian peoples will be going ahead and going down the Persian Gulf, and this group is going to be just settling there, sorta, but they might come back. But the Mesopotamians, what they're going to do is they are going to become a very prosperous nation and eventually go ahead and expand or discover a lot more, eventually discovering the Caspian Sea, or they don't really know if it's a sea yet, but that's them. They're the only ones who know about it. But the Mesopotamians are going to be expanding a lot more as they reach towards trying to claim this part of the sea. Going to the trade routes layer. What's the size of this? I think it's like a 6. Yeah. As the trade route between Mesopotamia and this country has gone well. And the trade route on the green team is also well, as the green team has also gotten permission from this country to start building its own trade route. Yeah. And the orange team quickly notices that, hey, they're kind of going around us. Which they don't really like, but what can they really do about it? Going over here, we can see that the orange team claims this island and this island, and Athens will actually be claiming Crete. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But the gold Italians will also be claiming Sicily. And, well, going over here, we can see that a separate group that is not affiliated with the yellow team is going to be mainly going over here, exploring a bunch of areas over here, hoping to find like another place to settle. As they go up and eventually discover this European coastline here, we can see that they just sort of like claim all this area. Maybe not claim, but they will explore it and eventually decide, you know what? We think we should settle here. So that's what they do. And a new country pops up. This is going to be the Dutch country, and, well, it's pretty small at first, as it's just working to explore a bunch of lands. But what it does do is it settles here and doesn't go to look for any more societies. They want to expand out here, be sort of like separate from the rest of the world, and like this. Going over to France, we can see that France is going to be going crazy at exploring these French regions, as they mainly go down the coast. And, well, they do eventually discover this river here, which does cause them to go here, but their explorations are put to a halt by this sort of mountainy range over here. But they will be exploring all this. And France is going to be continuing to explore and won't be really finding anybody, which they're surprised by for some reason. They feel like they're not the only ones. They felt traces nearby, maybe for pretty good reasons. They're right there, but France is going to be claiming a bunch more land down here, as the French country will be going ahead and claiming a huge chunk of land on this coastline. France has become a pretty large power in the world, but they aren't top 5 kind of power yet. But what they can do is they can claim a bunch of areas, which they claim all these areas, and they also will be claiming a pretty large chunk of territory over here. In this chunk of territory will also they will also be claiming more and more areas up here, until the inevitable happens, and the French discover traces of human beings. As some French people will be continuing to claim these areas which they think are new, until they find Dutch people here. And France finally knows that, hey, we're not the only nation here. And this surprises everybody. Well, the Dutch are the only ones that know about it, and the French, but they're sort of isolationists. So what can they really do? But eventually more and more groups are going to be able to go ahead and discover more and more of this Central European area. Sort of just leaving out the Alps. And, well, nothing can really happen here. Going back to this war, we can see that the yellow Slovenian country is going to be going ahead and claiming a lot, or exploring a lot more, claiming, and eventually going down this river, getting close to taking the capital of the country. What they can do successfully, the red team, is claim this major city, a pretty important major city for the yellow team. And, well, that's not very good for the yellow team, as they start to get sort of close to the capital. So the yellow team is going to make a giant pushback in these riverbanks, which they're experts at navigating, and eventually we'll be able to recapture this major city, and eventually we'll be making more advancements with the red team, as they eventually will be going ahead and just kicking the red team out a lot, claiming this major city, and this major city is also claimed. It looks like the yellow team is sort of winning this war. Well, they are, but who knows how long that might last, considering their history. Oh, wait. But what will happen is the orange team is going to claim some more areas down here, and going over here, more areas are going to be claimed, as eventually, well, yeah, Egypt is discovered with the Suez Canal for some reason, despite in the real world that not existing back then. But they don't really care, as this group sort of goes down here. And they decide, you know what? We like this huge riverbank, and they're going to develop their own nation. This group will be establishing their own independent nation over in Egypt, which is pretty cool. As they go ahead and explore or just claim all this area here, and claim the entirety of the Suez Canal region. Yeah, as they decide, we're going to explore a lot throughout this coastline, and eventually they are going to start moving down the Nile River bank. As a huge group of these Egyptian explorers, after a few years of development, will be going down to discover more territories. And well, let's take a hold on Egypt, or not, as well, this entire Sinai Peninsula here is fully discovered. And well, more nations are just going to continue exploring Mesopotamia until they reach the desert, which is basically where Mesopotamia ends. And this is what the region looks like so far. Going back to the purple team, we can see that they will be going ahead and claiming a lot more Ukrainian territories, eventually completing their goal of surrounding this little bank thingy here. At least I think it's called a bank. As they go ahead and claim a lot more areas over here, eventually all these areas are owned by the purple team. And the purple team, hearing about the yellow team war, is going to go ahead and get closer to the yellow team. But the yellow team isn't able to expand right now since they're in a pretty big war conflict thing. But the purple team is able to expand as they expand a lot more. Yeah. Going over to the stability map. Yeah. We can see that the yellow team becomes more unstable, the most unstable country in the world. But because of this war, the red team also become sort of stable, or at least a bit more stable than they were before, which is good for the red team, at least. But it's not so good for the yellow team. In technology, yellow team is very advanced. Yeah. Going back over to these regions, some French explorers are going to decide to dare to pass the Alpine mountain, the Alps, as these are very daring explorers, and this journey takes months, but eventually they go through here. And some of these French people dare to claim the mountains, and that is exactly what they do. And the Gold Italians also do the same thing, and they realize, hey, France exists. That's cool, yeah. But some very daring explorers will be going ahead and attempting to claim as much of, or explore as much of the Alps as possible, as they eventually go ahead exploring the entirety of the region, which is pretty big for them. But France is just going to get bigger because of this, as now they can go ahead and claim these, as many daring explorers go ahead and claim a bunch of these areas, as France continues to get a lot bigger, and claim even more rivers, as they are getting closer to discovering the yellow team's existence. Yeah. Going back to the Dutch country over here, we can see that it continues to sort of exploring many of these German territories here. But they do eventually come to a stop over going more east and instead do something more like this. Oh, wait, that's still east. As they eventually still go east. Yeah. And all this territory is discovered. But the Dutch aren't done exploring or expanding, as they will go ahead and claim many of these regions for themselves. The Dutch are already sort of becoming powerful-ish, but they aren't like red team or yellow team power status, but who knows if they can get there in the future. But what the Dutch will be doing is they will be making a border with France, or just where lines meet. And this border will be looking something like this, as the French and the Dutch will be basically making their established border look something like this. But the French won't stop expanding as they expand a lot more, but the Dutch are also going to go ahead and expand with them as they basically start to become aligned with each other. Yeah, that's something. Going over to the orange team, we see a rebellion happening. As Mesopotamian areas claimed by the orange team will be breaking away, and all of these southern areas will just be coming as they break away, and we can start the war. Very quickly, this rebellion is going to go ahead and be very quick to claim this major city, the orange team. As the orange team, because of this, their stability skyrockets to rock bottom. That's very good. Yeah. And now it all just goes down. Yeah, a lot. But the orange team is still a pretty strong country, so they will be fighting back. As a lot of the main areas are over here, but they also have some pretty important areas in Mesopotamia, as many of these troops over here are encircled. But what's going to happen is a huge encirclement is going to happen of many orange team troops, and this encirclement is eventually going to be successful. Yeah. Well, good thing for Greece is navies are in the world, and that's also pretty good for Athens. Athens is going to make an agreement with Greece. Hey, if you give us money, we'll invade the orange team for you, and we'll give you the land. And basically, the Greeks accept this, as they kind of want to mainly focus on the yellow team war, but they also want some land from the orange team seeing their situations. So Athens is going to make that agreement, and is going to start invading the orange team, as they make a pretty large landing, and will claim a bunch of these areas. And the orange team, being the orange team, is not going to do well, as the green team will also be joining in on this war against them, capturing this major city. These two sort of like each other, but the orange team is on a collapse. Eventually, their capital is going to be captured, and we can look at the peace treaty of this war. What is the peace treaty of this war? As the original rebellion gains its independence, there's a new Cypriot nation here. We're at a major city. A new nation gets independent over here. The green team takes this land. In the agreement, Athens does get this island here, but the Greeks will be taking this, and the orange team is gone. Basically gone. But now I'm going to have to do capital cities for these nations. And we can plop a few capital cities around. This one is going to be in the only major city on the river. And these are the capital cities of here. And basically the red team had a pretty large expansion. Going back to this war thing, let me erase this. Yeah. We can see that the yellow team is going to continue advancing, eventually taking the capital of the Italian nation. This is not going well for them at all. But Greece is able to push back, eventually recapturing one of the major cities, and eventually moving up the river. This is pretty good, as the yellow team needs to be collapsed according to the Greeks. They don't really like them. But then something else happens. The blue team doesn't like the yellow team because they got invaded by them. So the blue team is going to reinvade the yellow team, officially invading them. As they invade and take a bunch of territory, and the yellow team is facing a pretty large front war. But they're still the strongest country in the world, so that shouldn't be a problem, right? Well, who knows how long that will last. But what will still happen is the yellow team is going to be able to push back against the Greeks. But the blue team is going extremely well, as many of these areas are in support of the blue team, not wanting to be a part of the yellow team, which is not good for the yellow team. But the gold Italians will be reclaiming their capital city, eventually starting to make a pretty large pushback against the yellow team. And the yellow team is sending a lot of their forces here to deal with this, and the front line comes to a halt. Yeah. Going over here, we can see that more exploration happens, as the green team will be exploring with the purple team around, eventually going to the Caucasian mountain ranges. And the green team will be claiming a slight bit more territory after this war. Also, many of these areas over here in Caucasia will also be discovered, or just this part of Mesopotamia. Yeah, as the Azerbaijani coast is explored around a lot, and basically a huge chunk of land gets explored. And Mesopotamia is going to be pretty quick to claim a huge chunk of this, as they like land. And every nation likes land in this world, so they need their fair share. So they would be claiming all of this land here. Yeah. And also this nation would be claiming its own land, as every nation needs a land. And they would be claiming their land borders will look something like this. Yeah. But then going to the yellow team, we see something really big happening. The oligarch rebellion of the yellow team. This government here, this rebellion, is an oligarchy, and its goal is to take over the entirety of the yellow team under an oligarchy government. And well, this rebellion in Romania is very successful as they go ahead and capture this major city and claim a bunch of territory. But the yellow team is going to be able to claim this major city and start pushing back. But who knows how long that will last with all the front lines they were facing. Well, we can see France continue to explore, eventually finally making it past these mountains. And they mainly focus down the Catalonian coastline, as they have theories, like, knowing their coastline, like, basically they have a theory that maybe there's like a giant surrounding of like water here, and there's just like a bunch of coastline or something. But they want to see if they can connect with other nations around the world. Seeing that when they went this direction, they found the yellow team, now they're theorizing that if they go south, they might be able to go and find any other countries. So what's going to happen is the Catalonian region is going to be fully discovered by France, as this group discovered this river and will be continuing their way down south. Eventually, well, going down the coastline, which is very successful for them right now, as if I can find it. They will also be claiming some land. The lands that they will be claiming will mainly be in the Catalonian region, but they do claim these parts of the mountains. They do also fully claim these two rivers, or these two outputs of these rivers, and they claim the Catalonian coastline, as they also all go ahead and claim the entire Catalonian region. And they start to go down, eventually continuing to explore. But then, well, this is where they are going to stop, claiming land, like, at least at around, like, at this line. Is basically what they're saying. To the people, the people are getting sort of mad at them for expanding. And if I go to the stability layer, we can see that France is, well, now less stable, as more areas are starting to not like the French country. Finally using that layer for a bit. But the French don't really care as very well. Their theocratic government is supported by the people, but they don't really like how the French are expanding. So they are going to go ahead, and after they get to about this point, about claiming, they will be claiming this final area before they announce to the people, hey, we're not going to expand anymore. And we will allow you guys to break away if we expand anymore. And basically, France says that to the people, but not before taking or claiming a huge chunk of land over here and fully claiming this river. And this makes the governments mad. They were kind of forced to, which does make the people a bit more happy and will ramp up their stability a bit more. Yeah, which, well, they are sort of scared for their stability. But what's going to happen is they are going to go ahead, is another group, the explorationist group, is going to decide we don't want to be a part of France anymore, since the only reason we came down here was to claim land for France. And if we can't claim land for France, then what's our purpose? It makes sense. But they will be going down, basically breaking away from France, which is pretty common in this time, but France doesn't want any people going away. But when they discover that this sort of peninsula thing is here, they will be making their own country, officially forming the Lime Team. As Europe would be greatly exploring throughout Iberia, discovering this river, and starting their way up, eventually going ahead and making a sort of like colony thing on this river, as they claim pretty small territories, but pretty big for them as they just formed. But this country isn't going to stop expanding, as well. Yeah, they do. So they need to expand, and that is what the country looks like so far. Going over here, we can see that the gold team discovers Corsica and Sardinia. That's pretty cool. And the gold team will also be discovering these parts of Africa here. And they don't really want to explore more, so they will just be like keeping that. And they don't want to expand since they're in the middle of this war. Speaking of this war, we can see the gold team continue to push back against the yellows, the Slovenians, as well. They are losing a lot of territory. And if we look at the power rankings, the new updated versions, we can see that Greece and Italy won, and first and second strongest countries in the world representatively are together stronger than Slovenia. Italy is stronger than Slovenia just based off this war. This war is absolutely destroying the yellow team, but the yellow team, being an authoritarian regime, is going to, well, still fight back. As the Oligarchist Rebellion will be capturing this major city and taking a lot of the yellow team's vital river areas, attempting to get a pretty large coastline. As the blue team will also be continuing to expand, attempting to get as much land back as possible. And they will be able to go ahead and claim all of this territory before the Oligarchist Rebellion takes more, as basically the whole Romanian front basically collapses. But the red team is going to continue to do extremely well against them as they go ahead and, well, continue to go up, capturing these two major cities. Eventually, the Slovenians are about to collapse, and they don't know what to do. But what can they do now? As a new rebellion has just popped up in the capital of Slovenia, and, well, the yellow team is gone. They are in the trenches. The yellow team has collapsed. But the yellow team is going to still be fighting. As well, the gold team goes crazy, and guess what? France starts to invade, as they don't like the yellow team, because when they discovered each other, they had some conflict. And they didn't really like that. It kind of got rid of a lot of French people. So the French are going to be invading, and their yellow team is going to be forced into surrender. And we can look at the peace treaty of this multi-episode war. This is the peace treaty of this war. As we can see, we have the province layer here. And this is about to change. Here are the new borders. Firstly, we start with the gold team, as the gold team annexes this part of Italy. Yeah. And the gold team doesn't have the yellow team as a threat. As the red team will be annexing this land, which includes this major city, this one here, and this land, which includes two major cities. That's pretty cool. For the blue team will be annexing a lot of their old land and taking back some of their major cities. Going for the rebellion, the Oligarchist Rebellion, this is what they look like, and this is their capital. Yeah. Also, France. France will be taking this chunk of land here, and also a new nation will be forming here that looks something like this. And because of the port that's so valuable over here, the yellow team won't be allowed to keep this port around the rivers, so a new country will be formed there. And also one more country, Slovenia, will be the new, which will include the old capital of the yellow team as their capital. Yeah. And the yellow team, if you can tell, is absolutely destroyed by this. And this war has been pretty successful for pretty obvious reasons, if you can't see. With the war being over, we can see that France is going to want to connect their territories. So they're going to go ahead and expand into a bunch of this region and go ahead and colonize more of the Alps area over here. But this is going to greatly lower the stability of, France, as they become an orange color by stability. I'll update this next episode. Yeah. Well, what to do now? There's so much to do. Yeah. How about Egypt? Yeah, Egypt. Egypt is going to be continuing to explore down the Nile River as well. They basically go ahead and attempt to get as much land as possible. And they all might possibly become a pretty large powerhouse in the future. Who knows? I don't really know, but well, what's going to happen is Egypt is going to continue to expand more down the Nile River and claim basically a majority of the lands that they have explored, which, if I can get the color, includes all this, yeah. And they will also be going ahead and claiming this part over here of this area here, the Sinai Peninsula, and also right after that, we'll be claiming this part of it, and eventually they will just straight up claim the whole peninsula. And Egypt has become a pretty largest-ish nation for the time. Yeah. Going over here to this country, we can see that the purple team continues to greatly explore up these rivers, as they also, with the news of the war being over, they can freely go ahead and expand towards these nations. They also have what they say free will in order to expand a lot more into Ukraine without the yellow team being the giant empire here in order to quote unquote check on them. Because of this, the purple team is going to be greatly expanding throughout this river and will be making a border with the oligarchist Romanian country. I think that's just what I'm calling it. Oligarchist Romania. Yeah. Or I can just call it Romania. But the purple team is also going to be continuing to expand more and more across these rivers, eventually claiming all this huge chunk of modern Ukrainian territory. And eventually, we can go back to the Dutch country, or just this region as a whole. Get down here. Let's give a check on the Lime country, as the Lime country is going to be exploring the entirety of this river, and eventually they're just going to go ahead and explore this huge part of the Iberian Peninsula. What they'll be doing is they will be discovering more rivers, and eventually finding, both mainly exploring across the Iberian Peninsula. They are going crazy at exploring the Iberian Peninsula. Eventually, they will reach the north, where they have to start, turning, and, they basically go ahead and find France. They find French people, and they will just be going to decide to go ahead and fully explore the Iberian Peninsula. And that's what they do, as the Iberian Peninsula is fully explored. But the Lime team has to expand to survive in this era, as they go ahead and claim a lot of these new coastlines that they've discovered. Like this. Yeah, let me get a better brush size, like that. Yeah. And also this tiny pixel. How annoying is this going to be with Canada? I don't know, but there's a million pixels here, so I shouldn't worry about that now. But what the Lime team is going to continue doing is exploring around the Iberian Peninsula, as they go ahead and, explore and claim a lot of territory. Eventually going ahead and, doing a lot of stuff with this territory. But these river areas, which are kind of important for the Lime country, don't really like being a part of the Lime country. And the dark purple country is going to break away from the Lime team. And the Lime team doesn't really like this, but what can they do? They're a small country. But because of this, some other northern regions are going to start breaking away as well. As this chunk of the Lime team breaks away from the Lime team, and the Lime team isn't really going to do anything, as they don't really want to fight a war right now. That makes sense. They are a new country, and they don't really want to, make the stability lower, but they are currently pretty unstable. But what the Lime team is going to do is going to go ahead and make a border with France. And this is only some French officials, but the French, they expanded. And the French are going to have the stability be lowered a lot more, as now they are one of the most unstable countries in the world. Not as unstable as the yellow team before the war, but that's pretty bad. But France, being an authoritarian nation, is going to strike a deal with these nations in order to claim the Alps mountain range. Slovenia is going to be the first one to get in the action, trying to claim a pretty big chunk in order to make a name for themselves. But the Gold Italians and the French are going to make us a deal in order to divide up this region. And that deal is going to look something like this, as the French take this land and the Gold Country takes this land. And well, the Gold Country, now being out of the war, is going to go ahead and fully claim both these islands and start their African expansions. That's pretty cool. But also in Algeria, we can see a new civilization forming. They're just some new humans popping up, but these humans are going to go ahead and they don't know how close they are to actual civilization. So they are going to quickly go ahead and explore a lot across the Algerian coastline, not knowing that right above them is a few empires. But they are going to eventually establish a nation, and that nation, is going to look something like this. As they first establish their nation down here, and eventually will have their nation look something like this. They would be quick to go ahead and attempt to claim as much territory as possible in order to, expand. They are still tribal because they just formed, but they will be able to claim a pretty decent amount of land, actually, as they go ahead and claim this pretty decent chunk of Africa. No, pretty small, actually. Just look at the size of Africa. That's pretty small compared to the whole continent, but still, pretty big for the time. Yeah. Athens, going down here, is becoming one of the most advanced nations in the world. As they are able to go south, they send an expeditionary force south, and they make a landing over here in Libya. They think this is a whole new continent, and they do know, they don't know much, but, they will be exploring. And just to mention, we are getting to about the time where usually every country knows about everybody. So eventually word is going to spread to like Mesopotamia that there's nations over here. Before it was just like they only knew about what they directly contacted with. Like it used to be the red team only knew about like this sort of group. But now they know about a pretty large chunk of the world. As we're getting to kind of like the time where countries are starting to know about each other more. Yeah. But what's going to happen is the Athens nation, being probably one of the most advanced nations in the world, this is the longest naval expansion yet in history. But is this the same color? Yeah, it is. I'll just say it is. But Athens is going to be making a colony in Africa. Not really like a colony, but sort of like thing to grow their empire. But they are scared for Greece above. So they're going to be forming an alliance. Oh, and by the way, this alliance expired. But who will they be forming an alliance with? Well, firstly, they will be forming the Star Alliance. But who will they be forming this sort of alliance with? Who would want to join the same alliance as Athens? Oh! I think that just totally ruined the relations between the Gold Italians and Greece. Yep, that definitely did. As now, if the Greeks decide to go ahead and attack Athens or go to Italy, the other one will get involved. And the Red Greeks don't like that at all. Especially since they were just their ally, but what can they really do? The Gold Italians plus Athens would probably be able to beat the Red team. Or would they? Who knows? But Athens colony is going to look something like this. Yeah. There hasn't been anything in Mesopotamia this episode, but let's expand a bit more on these alliances, and let's make a new alliance. The Circle Alliance between this, Mesopotamian nation and this Mesopotamia. Yeah, that's a pretty large thing. And Mesopotamia has announced to their people that, they are going to stop expanding and just take a break to, sort of expand the economy. Which, who knows if that could put them on the top 5 power rankings. That would be pretty cool if they could do that. Yeah. Going over here to the green team, we see something happening in the southern regions. we see rebellion happening of ethnic orange peoples. And this rebellion is only for because this rebellion is happening because the green team is made up of two main ethnicities. The green team ethnicity, which is sort of like the blue team ethnicity, and also the other ethnicity down here. So basically, the people down here still consider themselves part of the orange team, and they want to break away in order to form an independent nation, since in the treaty of this massive war, they didn't let this area come back to the orange team. But so this rebellion is successful, and the green team is going to be forced to let it go. And we can look at what this peace treaty is like. And this is the territory that breaks away. And well, funny enough, the ethnicity of the green team is actually here. Yeah, and I think I might want to actually make an ethnicity map later. But to end off the video, we are going to see these islands be discovered. And well, oh no. Why are we in England? Oh no, the French have discovered England. Yep, that's something. And also, the Dutch country is going to have, wait, what? More exploration to Europe. As more countries will also be starting to explore, as the yellow team's explorations have come to a halt, or just a complete stop, as well, I don't think the yellow team is really forbidden to expand much anymore after this war. But what European countries are going to do is they're going to work to explore into Europe, eventually discovering these two rivers. As we can see that the gold team is going to be continuing to explore Africa, eventually actually discovering that this thing exists over here in Algeria. They are surprised, especially since they don't have a religion, but they're going to attempt to get the yellow religion or the southern Italian religion here, which is where most of the explorers from that explore into Africa are from, into here. So basically, the gold team is going to attempt to make a colony in order to expand the religion. That's pretty cool things I've never mentioned before. I wish I could do that last season, but I can't. That's too late. But the yellow teams, as the gold team, will be making a little colony here and hoping to establish relations with the Algerian team. As the yellow team, not the gold team, expands, eventually taking and making a small colony here. They will be able to eventually connect up with the Algerian team, and the Algerian team the gold team is going to help the Algerians explore. And because the gold team, if we can go over here, if we can see they're a pretty large, exploring country. They've explored many areas, owning the whole Italian peninsula. They basically have one of the best, exploration forces in the world. So they're going to help the Algerian country go ahead and get, a sort of, more, expansions, as they sort of help them explore a lot more. The gold team is going to continue to expand their colony, as they want to help get more influence throughout this area. The Algerians are going to go ahead and also expand more and more into this area. Eventually, with a very, very large help with the gold team. The gold team is in their role for the gold team. The gold team's role is sort of basically making, just helping them survive. So, well, Algeria is going to join the Star Alliance. It's pretty large. Going over here, the gold team actually has the largest navy in the world, so they will be able to colonize these islands. Maybe not the largest, maybe besides maybe Athens. Greece is a decent contender. No, probably the gold team. Maybe even France, but who knows. Yeah. Time to go over to Spain now, as we can see that Spain is expanding a lot, or just the countries in Spain. As this country, the Lime country, is going to be expanding greatly, as they are doing they're very prosperous, if I can find the ideology layer. There, with their theocracy. Their theocracy is different than France. France's is more of like, hey, you can't be here unless you're this religion. So, well, that doesn't really accept many people. But this theocracy and the Spanish theocracies here is what they're known. They're basically like, hey, you should probably be this religion, but it's okay if you're like a Mesopotamian religion. It's okay. So, well, basically these countries are a lot more prosperous. So they're able to expand a lot as they eventually go ahead and fill in the southern Spanish area. And then a new country is established over here with the new group trying to maybe like stand out in the Iberian Peninsula. They're going against theocracy basically. As an oligarchist, dark blue-ish sort of country thing here forms. This country is an oligarchist thing. Its base goal is to like counter the theocratic regimes, is what they call them in Iberia, or the rest of it at least. And they are just against like theocracy and everything it's for. They believe that, hey, we should have multiple people in power and not just be united under this religion thing. But, well, countries don't really like this, so they are going to be wanting to expand a lot more. Specifically the Iberian countries, as Iberia does not like that there's a country in their peninsula that's going against everything that is about them. I wouldn't like that either. But France still is applying that promise to the people that they won't expand, so they just aren't allowed to expand into any of this area. So what will be happening is the Spanish peninsula will be being divided, and this is our new independent nation here. Yeah, our capitals later. Going over here, we can see, if you can, a major shift has happened in the world, specifically down in Athens, as Athens becomes a flawed democracy. Well, for a while, Athens has been a developing democracy, which has some democratic values, but not very many. Few, basically. And basically, they become an actual democracy. This is pretty large. And many countries around the world are starting to maybe like approve Athens and what they're doing. But the red team isn't. Wait, what should I do now? Let's go up to here, as we can see a pretty large part of France breaking away from the French Empire. As the Republic of Eastern France breaks away from the French Republic in order to try to break away from the theocratic government, if I can find the layer, wrong layer, that is taking over, quote unquote taking over, France. So basically, this rebellion is against, well, this, and is working to like sort of have religious freedom. As well, they are pretty ethnically divided, as we can see. Let's make a quick outline of the nation so we can sort of see what they look like ethnically. They basically have a kind of mix between French religion and yellow religion. I think they even have like a tiny bit of blue. No, not really. But what I'm saying is basically like they're sort of like divided. And they don't really want to be theocratic and all just the blue religion. So what this thing is going to do is it's going to attempt to break away. And it's going to start with much of the civilian population going ahead and going down these rivers, taking some of these major cities. France did not expect this, as they are a strong country. If we can find the stability map all the way down here, they are very unstable. Not as unstable as Greece, though, which somehow they're surviving, but let's go back here. As the civilian militias continue to go ahead and capture more areas of France, of the French Republic, as they go ahead and capture multiple major cities and start approaching the French capital. But they are sort of stopped by this river. But they do get past, some people do get past, but the French are pushing back. As they start to push back around these rivers, eventually recapturing this major city. But the French are very weak compared to this government, as France is very unstable, and they are just going to, not do well, as they are very close to losing their capital. But France is the strongest nation in the world, so they will have a lot of success pushing back once they get their military organized. Yeah, that makes sense. As they go ahead and take this major city, eventually going ahead and recapturing this one, and going down this river, eventually capturing this one, and making this massive encirclement, eventually fully taking these areas, as France is starting to push back against the rebellion. But then another country decides to join in on this war against France. It's the oligarchist thing here. The new oligarchist thing, this isn't really in support of the government, but it's really in support of the people. The people are oligarchists, they're supporting of a dictatorship. How do you ever see that happen in history? You don't, is the thing. But this thing will have a lot of supports throughout the entirety of this French region, as, well, they don't want to be part of France anymore. People are done with France. I think it might be appropriate to update the stability map. There. That's more appropriate, having it be red instead of an orange. But this country is going to do very successfully, as, well, nobody likes France. And then a new country is going to join in on this war. The Lime team joins in on the war in order to get the Catalonian coastline, as they are able to take over all of these regions. And then the Gold team joins in on the war. And the French are like, whoa, what are you doing here? This is not your territory. And then France is going to surrender over to the impeding sides. This is a surprising surrender, and France calls out to their people saying, hey, this is a war we can't fight. We are going to be surrendering to protect you and make sure you can, be here without dying. And this is actually going to be supported by the French a lot. And the stability starts to go up to yellow, actually, which is pretty high for them. They're still unstable though, but we can look at the peace treaty of this war. Yeah. The peace treaty of this war. So firstly, we can see that this nation gets its independence with its capital in this major city. Is it along the river? If I can find it. It's sort of on the river. But if we look at the province, we can see that it takes some provinces. And we can see that the Lime team takes this land, the Gold team takes this land, and the oligarchist thing takes this. Yeah. So basically, well, the war's over now. France is not as powerful as they were before, but they're still pretty powerful. But they are actually going to get a lot higher on stability, as the stability levels go up to green. No, not that green. More like a lime green color. Yeah. I think it's time to do some other parts of the world now, because we've done so much already. Let's erase some of this. Yeah. Let's go over to some of the unexplored territories in Caucasia, as these Mesopotamian countries and Ukraine will be going ahead and exploring the Caucasian region, as they go ahead and explore the entire thing, and we'll be working towards exploring Central Asia. That's pretty big. And Ukraine is also very expansionist, or explorationist, and they start to do mass expansion or exploration over into here. Yeah. And, well, where should we go now? Let's go down south, because Mesopotamia is going to be greatly exploring these areas over here, rapidly, exploring, and they are even going to start claiming a bunch of this land, as they want to connect up with Egypt. Do you know why? You don't, but now you do. Or at least you do now. Maybe now, as Egypt joins the Silk Alliance. That's pretty large, and, well, because of that, Mesopotamia wants to connect up with this. And, well, they will be able, with the help of Egypt, be able to connect up with Egypt, and this is not a very good looking border, so let's just fix that. And this is what the area looks like. And where should we go now? How about Africa? As we can see that the Egyptians, with help of Athens, continue to, explore Africa. As this area is becoming a very, big place for, curiosity in this region. Or just the world. The world is very curious about Africa. Eventually, after a few years, they will be able to explore the entirety of the North African coast. And the Gold Team, being the powerhouse they are, is going to start to claim it, as they make a small colony here. And this is going to put their power over the edge, and they are the official strongest country in the world. And, if you want to go anywhere in the Mediterranean, you're going to have to go through the Gold Team. That's just the rule of thumb in this area. Yeah. Going over to here, we can see that the Yellow Team continues to explore Poland. Did I say Yellow Team? Yes, I did. Because the Yellow Team is going to be doing something weird once they figure out that this Polish area exists. But first they will be exploring it, of course. Kind of leaving out Germany, but the Yellow Team discovers, hey, you exist, Mr. Dutch thing. Yeah. And the Yellow Team doesn't like this. But that's not the weird thing they're doing. Just discovering them. The weird thing they're doing is they are, doing that. I didn't expect that. As the Yellow Team makes a colony in Poland. Yep, this is the same Yellow Team down in the Balkans. Nobody expected this. And I just kind of made it up along the way, but, let's just go continue exploring. As more nations continue to explore and explore and explore, as they also have to expand in order to survive, as this blue nation is going to greatly expand around this area, as they will be reaching this river and claiming a bunch of region areas, as we're sort of getting to the age where mass expansion in unexplored areas is sort of viable, even for a country like the Yellow Team. But the Yellow Team is still sort of in a weak state, so they can't expand as much, but they are able to expand. Going over to you, Mr. Green Team. The Green Team is going to be going ahead and expanding across these Caucasian regions, actually making a border with the Ukrainians. And, the Green Team isn't actually very stable. Have I represented that in the stability map? No, but their stability is more like an orange now. Because of their religious diversity, and also, should I add an ethnicity map? Because this is very confusing, especially in Anatolia. These people down here consider themselves orange. Some here Mesopotamian people here. Some people here consider blue team. Some Ukrainian. This thing is just a giant mess over here in the green team. And its stability is low because of that. Yeah. What to do? Oh my, England. As well, the French will be going into England and, exploring it. And, they will be going up, eventually discovering a lot of these areas here. And, that is going to... Let's go up to Sweden. As we see a civilization being established. Or really we see, a group of people, sort of pop up and sort of, explore over in this Swedish-Norwegian area thing here. Going ahead and expanding across this coastline before, if I can make sure it's correct, eventually forming a civilization. A civilization pops up in Sweden. That is a pretty big thing, but nobody knows about them. They have to go through Denmark, or at least the rest of this does. But going over to Russia, we see a civilization being established in Russia. Or just like Sweden, people expanding, civilizations forming. As we have a sort of blue Russian country popping up over here. And this thing is going to go ahead and expand or explore crazy because of all the rivers, the abundant rivers nearby. As they go ahead and will be continuing to expand a lot. That's pretty big as they establish their civilization around some of these rivers, but they do go over some of the borders a bit. And well, let's just establish some of these civilizations around the borders of the rivers, because that does make sense for this time period. They don't actually fully, settle this area here that I'm erasing, but let's just make a little bit of a nicer border. As they go ahead and, well, explore a lot over into these areas, or expand, making the civilization expand around these rivers. But one more place, civilization pops up in one more place around the world. Where in the world could this new civilization pop up? As humans pop up in China, of all places. China, humans are in China officially, and they quickly go ahead, explore across China. Eventually, after exploring some more, they will eventually establish the Chinese civilization. China is on the map, and if I can color this a bit more, we can see. Let's actually color this in the right way, like this, like that. And they also have this area. We can see that civilization is everywhere. It's over in China, over in Russia, Sweden, and all of Europe, basically. And basically, civilization is in many areas around the world. We are going to see the blue team invade this country. The blue team invades, well, the Cyan team. Why do they invade the Cyan team? Well, they want the Thrice region back. Makes sense, it has Istanbul, and also this is just historical land for them. And these are the same people, so basically some people might approve. And so basically they want to have the land back. So the blue team's troops are going to quickly be entering over into the Thracian region, quickly going ahead and taking some of these eastern parts. Eventually they are going to get pretty close to Istanbul/Constantinople, and they're getting close to taking the city. But this thing is a sort of decently powerful country-ish thing. But, well, they will be pushing back a bit. But this is the blue team, one of the most historical nations here. And they will be able to capture the city. And this is all the blue team wants, so they are going to offer that deal up to the Cyan team, saying, hey, if you surrender now, we won't take any of your land. And, well, the Cyan team is not going to accept that, because they will be recapturing the city. And what they will be doing is sort of doing that. But then the Cyan team makes an offering to the blue team. Hey, if you surrender in this war, we can give you the Thracian lands, just not Istanbul. And the blue team is like, no, the only reason we declared war on you was to get Istanbul, and you're making a deal with us to get everything but what we want? I don't think that's going to be allowed. So the Cyan team is going to continue pushing back. Wait, let me check the stability map real quick. I do have the stability map. Not there. There. No, that's the wrong map. Oh my. There it is. We can see that the stability in the green country is more... Basically, the Cyan country here is more stable than the blue country here. So there was a few protests, which makes some of the military population a little bit more willing to fight for the nation. So they have a little bit of overpowerness when it comes to the military. So they will be quick to go over and recapture this area. Eventually they won't be able to push back against the river, until the blue team will make another offensive over here, encircling a huge chunk of Cyan team troops. Now going up north, we can see that the Romanian country declares war on the blue team. As Romanian troops enter into the blue team, just like the yellow team did back in the Italo-Slovenian War, which a while ago. No, before that, but well, yeah. But the Ukrainians will be Romanians will be quick to fully capture this river, which is really bad for the blue team, and the Romanians start to go down, eventually capturing this major city. But what's going to happen is the blue team, the Cyan team here, and the Romanians are going to make a deal saying, hey, if you let us make an alliance to... Why am I over here? If you let us make an alliance together, we will give you what you want, but Romania will get some land, but not this major city, as long as we get to make an alliance together. And the blue team will accept this deal, and we can look at the peace treaty of this war. This is peace treaty of the war, as what the blue team fully annexes the Thracian region, and the Romanians get this territory. Look, which is basically like this tiny piece of territory here, and this piece of territory here. And the blue team is reduced, but the Diamond Alliance is formed, and they are an official peace treaty for a while, so they can't be declared war upon by. Yeah. Going over down south to Anatolia, let's take a look at the stability map. As we can see, Anatolia is really unstable. Why is this? This is because of this country, actually. This little gray country here. Why are they unstable because of this? Well, let's just say these two countries, if their governments allowed it, they would unite into a big the Orange Republic or something like that. And but that's not allowed, as the governments of these nations are completely against each other. So against each other. They have totally different ideologies here. And this country is actually going to become a partial dictatorship, which doesn't really help their situation. They're just not in a good situation, but they are very different. So basically, this country is very against this one, but the people are wanting to go back and forth between these two countries all the time. And the Orange country is very unstable because the government dislikes the country a lot, but the people love the country. So the people of the Orange team are going to be like, nope, we cannot handle this anymore. We are revolting. And same thing goes in this country, and a revolution pops up. As the rebellion first pops up in the Orange team, eventually taking and capturing this whole part, and also a pretty large chunk of the northern farmers of this area will be rebelling because many of them are wanting to move to this country. And also this country. Basically, this country's entire eastern half just breaks away. That's not very good if you want to be a surviving country. And let's take a look at the stability map, if I can get it. As both of these countries' stability is orange, is in the red, the dark red. Which, if you don't know what that means, it basically means they'll collapse. Yeah. This country will start by quickly sending its very small military that really dislikes it into this area. But the thing is, this rebellion is really powerful, so they won't be able to do much. But what will be happening is these two will connect up, and they will move down here. This rebellion up here isn't very strong, so some Orange team pockets are going to be sort of breaking away from the rebellion, and this one just falls. But the Orange team and the Cyan team here are in a temporary alliance as they work to attempt to defeat this rebellion and keep their countries alive. And they will be able to push back more. But seeing the situation here, there's still more issues. So, for some reason, the red team is going to declare war on the Orange team to quote-unquote fix their issues. Yeah. So, the red team would probably the most powerful military in the world. Probably maybe behind the Italians, but probably strongest military. Yeah. As they quickly go ahead and very quickly take over these entire northern parts of the country, and they will just be fully taking out the Orange team. As they also go in and invade this country and take its capital, and basically this happens. Yeah. And what happens now? The red team doesn't personally believe in this rebellion, so they will be invading it and taking it out. Yeah. And now let's look at the treaty of this war. It's going to be a messy one, just saying. What is the peace treaty of the war? As the red team will be annexing this piece of land from the Orange team and this land. And this land. That definitely doesn't look a little weird. But let's talk about ideologies now. As the ideologies of both these governments have changed as they've both became developing democracies. By the way, team, I think it might be time to move this guy. Yeah. But I'll move that later. But, well, this country, the people are, like, going to become the flat democracy, yeah. As their people are very nationalistic, and they believe that they can succeed in this sort of thing happening, and they believe that they can make their country powerful. Yeah. How are they going to make their country powerful, you may say? But despite the religion of this nation being, well, what? Greek, they're going to decide, if I can find the letter, yeah, join the Circle Alliance, which is primarily a Mesopotamian alliance. The red team doesn't like that. They call it like going against the quote unquote against their religion. But well, what can they do? Their Mesopotamia is pretty powerful. You already have an alliance against you, and there's an alliance right there. And well, now a new alliance is bordering you. What can you really do? Just saying. Yeah. Going down here, we can see that more nations, or mainly just the gold country, the Italians and the Algerians, are going to be going crazy exploring, or at least what their definition of crazy is for exploring North Africa. As they explore over into, like, these areas over here. Yeah. And now we can see that the gold team is going to expand. The gold team is going to go ahead and start to expand around the coastlines, eventually taking these areas here. Maybe not like this area, but eventually they're just going to go ahead and take all the coastline of Africa over here. And this area is one of the most economically prosperous areas of the gold team, as it sort of makes them control the trade between these areas here. And, well, trade, if you want to trade with, like, anybody from Iberia, or to anybody over here, well, you're going to have to go through here, so that's something. Yeah. Where to go now? Let's go over here. As we can see, Egypt continued to mainly explore around their nation, as they have made a very large exploration force with some help from Mesopotamia, of course, as they are the third strongest country in the world. Let's take a look at power rankings real quick, though. As we can see, Italians are the strongest, the Greeks are the second, Mesopotamia third, France, and then Ukraine, yeah. Those are power rankings, top 5. Anything else you can think of yourself. But the Egyptians are just going to go crazy exploring, as they explore a lot over into this area over here. And also going over here, we can, before getting back to Egypt, we can see a lot more exploration happening into North Africa. But they really can't get past this point, as they don't really want to explore too far into the Sahara Desert. But the Egyptians, because this is the Nile River, are going to go crazy exploring down. As one giant group continues to go down, eventually will be deciding to stop here before going back over to Egypt in order to report what they've seen. Yeah. Going back over here to Africa, we can see the Athens country make a small little landing thing in Libya in order to claim. The Greeks, the Italians do accept this, but the Athenians do claim this coast. But eventually a deal is going to be made to, like, quote unquote split Africa between Athens and Italy. So basically this line, everything like past this line is going to go to Italy. Maybe the line looks more something like this. Everything here, down here, is Athens, and over here is Italian. So what they're going to do is both these countries are going to go ahead and basically make the official border between Athens and Greece directly over here in Africa. And Athens is going to continue to expand their colony as they work their way down the coastline, and eventually discover many Egyptians. And Egypt doesn't like this because, well, this is can be considered colonialism. Maybe not colonialism just yet, but kind of sort of like a form of it. The Egyptians do not like this, so they are going to go ahead and expand over into these regions over here, so Athens doesn't claim them. And this is going to make tensions between the Star Alliance and the Circle Alliance. But what can really happen? These are two pretty powerful alliances, but who would win? Probably the Star Alliance, but that's hypothetical. Going over to Iberia, we can see that, well, the Iberian country, the Latin country, is going to be going ahead and invading Spain. As they go ahead and take its capital within the first few weeks, and well, Spain is just going to surrender in order to live, and we can look at the peace treaty of this war. Very quick war. And this is the peace treaty of this war. As the Latin team will be annexing this land, and well, making their borders expand. Let me remove the river layer. And this is basically what their nation looks like. Very borders, I could just say. Yeah, very nice borders. Let's go to trade routes now. I haven't really mentioned these in a while. But what's going to happen is the Mesopotamians are going to continue to build their trade route. Let's just update them. The trade route that the Mesopotamians have been, it doesn't go like that. It should probably go to this major city, which it does. And the trade route the Mesopotamians have been working with a bunch of nations to build is going to look something like this. It goes up over here to this capital, going up this river, this capital, and they've built to about here, and are working towards entering Slovenia, or just entering Italy. Yeah. And the Mesopotamian trade route is also going to span all the way down this river and go here, eventually leading out from the Mesopotamian capital to this major city and through Egypt over here, eventually expanding over here. This is the full trade route so far, but building has been stopped by the blue team into the red team, which increases tensions between the red team and the Circle Alliance. The red team isn't in a very good situation, I would say. Yeah. Going over here, we can see the yellow team greatly expanding over here, eventually connecting to their Polish colony, and making this thing look, concerning, or just something, as the yellow team will be greatly expanding over into these German regions. And, well, they would be going ahead and, well, claiming all this territory, and claiming a majority of the river here. Yeah. But exploration is going to go into Denmark, as they eventually, the humans, the Europeans, discover all of Denmark. And the yellow team is just going to decide to work on making an official border over in this German region. And a country that's been around for a little while is going to do something again. As, well, this Benelux country is going to be expanding over here. And, well, and also this country is going to expand a bit, but let's just see where the borders meet. And this is roughly where borders meet in Germany, as the whole German area is sort of divided. But the yellow team still isn't liked, as this looks a little weird, according to many people, but why am I talking about that? I don't know. But going over to England, we can see that the French continue to explore over up into the English area, as they go ahead and explore all the way up to England. Yeah, and eventually they explore up to here. Going over to Ukraine, we can see Ukraine start to mass explore over into here. They haven't actually expanded in a little while, but they won't expand yet. Wait, is that correct? Yeah, that's correct. As they go ahead and rapidly explore these rivers, as they work towards exploring greatly, as they go ahead, eventually discovering Russia, and while Russia is going to do a pretty similar thing, as with help from the purple team, are going to be able to explore a whole bunch of territory over in this region, as they go ahead and explore basically all this Russian area Europe. But Russia, because of this, is going to continue just gonna continue expanding as they reach and claim this part of this river and reach and claim this part of this river. And the Russians by themselves will be going ahead and exploring a bit over into these rivers, eventually, well, getting very close to discovering the Baltics. Which they don't know much about the war since they're new, sort of, but they do get a lot of help from the Ukrainians. But the Russians will be continuing to expand across here as they fully claim this river. Eventually, their territorial claims will look something like this. Yeah. And then a huge group, a huge leader, like a new alliance. Wait, let me make sure of the right layer. A new alliance is formed. This one is sort of like an explorationist alliance, but this is sort of like an alliance to like explore Europe. I'm going to be making it, let's just make an economical alliance instead. The Square Alliance, as the Ukrainians, the Russians, this country, and the Yellow Team will be forming this alliance, and this alliance's goals are to expand over into Europe. Yeah, Eastern Europe to be exact, as they want to control the entire region. But first, before controlling it, they have to explore it. As they eventually will be going ahead and, well, the Yellow Team is going to do a lot of work over in the Baltics, as they go ahead and discover Lithuania over here, and go ahead and, well, eventually discover a huge chunk of Latvia, as the Baltics are being explored greatly. Eventually, they will be exploring all the way up to Finland. That's a pretty large piece of area here. I would not expect that, but I guess they did. Well, this couldn't be done by a single nation, as all these nations have explored up into Europe. That's pretty large. Let's do our daily Chinese update, as we can see that the Chinese will be continuing to explore a bit more as they go ahead and explore, eventually finding this river and discovering it, eventually going ahead and, well, exploring a lot more, as they have sort of like a pretty decent technology for their time. Yeah, but they do get to explore up. But also with exploring in this age comes with expanding, as the Chinese will be expanding over into these rivers, eventually will be claiming a pretty large chunk of territory for them, at least. And their new territorial claims at least, will be looking something like this. Yeah. And one final event for this video, a revolution in the red team finally happens, and I think I can update this now. Let's just put these outline for now. Why am I here? I don't know, but a revolution in the red team happens. As the red team's stability has finally caught up to them, and the Democratic Republic of Greece officially, was that a good name? No. The Democratic Republic of Yugoslavia breaks away from Greece, and the stability has finally caught up to them, and the red team is in civil war. And that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's scenario where civilization started over. See you in the next episode, where we will see the Yugoslav Greek Revolution. Let's get into... Bye!